Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we are just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
The good stuff, I used to say things like in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, but guess what? It's all been sucked out and given to my daughter. We'll talk about that later on.
Wow, the good stuff has all been given to your daughter.
They're vampires. I mean, the good stuff is money.
That good stuff. That good stuff. That's good to hear. I can't wait to hear more later after the supply run.
Right on.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Brian, there's a story that has unfolded over the 700 years that we've been covering this space.
Man, I shudder to know how many episodes we've actually completed at this point. But yes, there have been certain recurring themes.
And probably one of the biggest is what happens to cable, right? In the early days, it was like, can cable be overcome? Pretty clear that it's been overcome. But what does it become? What happens? Does it just fade away into that great night? Or does it become something different, something transformed? I think I have found 4 stories that came out in the last week that may point the way to the future of cable. Are you ready?
Ready.
We'll start with the bad news. The cable industry lost 4 million subscribers in the first 6 months of this year. Last quarter, it lost 1.62 million to cord cutters. And Craig Moffat of the Moffat Analytics company said, this marks the 10th consecutive quarter of double-digit declines. Not the 10th consecutive quarter of declines, the 10th consecutive quarter of double-digit declines. It has become increasingly clear there is no longer any floor.
Yeah, I had a visceral moment of realizing just how dead cable was, because it used to be, at the end of the day, if there was a tornado, you could always turn on local news. If there was breaking news, you could always flip over to one of the 24-hour cable networks. I had news attack me on a peaceful day off on Sunday, where I was just trying to watch more of season 2 of The Wire. And all of a sudden I opened up the HBO app, and this is on the Vizio TV here on campus. I turn it on, and first thing to show up was breaking news, CNN Max, about the assassination attempt. And I was just like I felt it in my gut, like cable is truly dead now.
Yeah. Yeah. DirecTV and Dish are talking about merging again. So, we're starting to see, granted, it always starts at the edges, but we're starting to see linear providers looking at like, I don't know, maybe we should cozy up. And speaking of DirecTV, I was 2 days off. Somebody told me like, this DirecTV Disney thing's going to drag on for months. And I was like, it'll be solved by September 16th, which by September 16th gave me wiggle room, so I'm technically accurate, but it was solved on September 14th. DirecTV and Disney reached an agreement, and here's what the agreement is, Brian.
Yes.
Slimmer bundles. So DirecTV can't force you into all or nothing as much. Disney's direct-to-consumer streaming services, Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus will be included in select DirecTV packages under a wholesale agreement and made available on an a la carte basis. So what that means is there will be packages you get through DirecTV that include the Disney bundle. You don't have to pay extra. That'll be just one of the channels carried in that package is the Disney streaming bundle. Also gives DirecTV rights to distribute Disney's upcoming ESPN flagship direct-to-consumer service at no additional cost to DirecTV customers. So when ESPN does its direct-to-consumer streaming service, DirecTV gets a chance to include it in one of its packages, and you don't have to pay extra.
And which party do you think was pushing for this, given that it's an all-in-one thing? Because normally I would think, Disney would want to get paid to have the channels on, or I guess does Disney have to pay to have the channel, or do they get paid? Because every channel is different,
right?
I always feel smart when I stumble on the right question.
That is definitely the question, because honestly, both sides want this. Disney wants the increased distribution that a deal like this gives them. DirecTV wants to be able to say, no, don't cancel to go to ESPN's new streaming app. We'll give it to you. It's all about the cost, who pays and how much. And we don't know that. We don't know what that cost is. But yeah, that's why now I think it's pretty clear that is why we had such a bitter feud between DirecTV and Disney. It's not they couldn't agree on what, they couldn't agree on how much.
Yeah. Well, and I think both of I think DirecTV in general probably was not thrilled with people subverting the DirecTV interface in order to access all the Disney content a la carte.
Yeah.
But is probably fine with holding on to the bird in the hand. Like, it seems like Disney had an awful lot of bargaining power with DirecTV.
Now,
is not that we traditionally saw in these.
That's true. Yeah. Also, keep in mind that DirecTV is majority owned by AT&T. And AT&T sold Warner Brothers Discovery to Discovery, who merged Warner Brothers with Discovery. So I guess they sold Warner Brothers, not Warner Brothers Discovery. But there's a little bit of a heritage there. So DirecTV has a deal to offer you Max already. Now it's going to have the Disney bundle. This is where I think we're pointing to the future thread starts to come together. Back last year, you may remember Charter had a new agreement that dropped linear distribution of Freeform and a few other networks that it didn't want to pay to carry anymore in exchange for promoting Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus on Spectrum. Charter just renewed a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery and will offer Max at no extra charge if you have a particular Spectrum TV Select plan. So I'm suggesting this, Brian, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
Cable becomes the home of multiple streaming services for one price. So not just one bill, but you just pay one amount and you get a bunch of streaming services. You don't have to decide what they are. You don't have to add them and remove them and keep track of subscriptions. You just pay the fee and you get cable and you get the streaming services. It's all the best of both possible worlds, especially as one of them dies and the other rises. They keep the existing cable customers, right? The people who are on cable will see this as a better deal than the people who are not. And so they possibly can lure some customers back with the simplification. And the next thing I want to see if this model is going to work is national companies breaking out of their regions. When Spectrum says, hey, San Francisco, get our streaming service, and the Spectrum doesn't operate in San Francisco. When Comcast says, hey, Austin, get our streaming service, because Comcast isn't available in Austin, that is going to be the big sign that they are serious about, we want to be the one-stop subscription provider for these services.
Okay, so I wonder, I wonder what legal entanglements there are, or I guess regulation entanglements there are. Previously, the idea of worrying about, I don't know, let's say Bright House getting out of their local turf was ridiculous because they ran over a big fat coax pipe. And so it was not a question that needed to be asked. But now I can see if a regional or virtual cable provider were to just start competing everywhere, slow movers might try to engage with the heavy-handed force of regulation or go straight to the FCC to complain like, hey, man, they're regional to that area. We used to have a monopoly over here. This is West Side turf.
No, it's interesting. The YouTube TVs, the direct TVs, even satellite direct TV, forget streaming, have the ability to provide nationwide service. But a lot of these companies like Comcast and Spectrum had regional monopolies because they also didn't, they had agreements that allowed, like, we'll take this region, you take that region. I don't know that those are going to cause a problem, because a lot of times regions were carved up among the various versions of them. There's parts of Orange County that are under Comcast, in the LA, the broader LA area. And there used to be a division between Charter and what was the other one now? I'm blanking on it.
Charter, Spectrum,
Charter and the other one merged to become Spectrum. But no, it was Comcast, Charter, and the other one, and I'm totally blanking on Cox. No, it wasn't Cox. I don't think. But yeah, anyway, there were 3 in the LA region. Now there's only 2 in the LA region. Time Warner Cable. Thank you.
I was right when I said AOL.
yeah, you're basically right. Yeah. So I think we're going to see. How could I not remember Time Warner Cable? And there's talks in Orange County, according to Wolf Glen 99, the cable company. So I don't think there's. I haven't looked into it, but I don't think there's going to be a legal problem, and certainly. Regulatory speaking, nationwide competitors are less antitrust than regional monopolies.
Well, here's why I bring up not so much. I don't think it'll be legal trouble so much as regulatory trouble. Somebody's going to get to say no fair when this deal turns out to be more sweetheart. Like, how are we supposed to compete with all the streaming services for only $50? We can't. Boo-hoo. And then usually, if there's enough competitors in enough regions and somebody is coming in nationwide to eat their lunch, you might see that.
But that's the difference in this situation. There's the regionals are breaking out of their region into a competitive national marketplace. There are only national competitors now.
Right. So here's the thought.
So that increases the competition, not decreases it.
One of the things I find most interesting about this is the question of like who's paying who and what is everybody getting, because there are so many interesting intangibles. Like let's start with the question that we asked at the outset: who's getting more value, the cable companies by having Disney properties or Disney by having access to the cable people? They can argue back and forth on that, but also intangibles like you could say. Here's what I used to say. And now I'm having to rethink it because I'm learning more about this space. I used to say there's the intangible of customer data, like they get all the data with all the over-the-top streaming services. But I guess no. Actually, I'll stick to that because you are able to map that data onto individual users and target individual things to individual users. So that's of course like. Even if they're taking in less money on the streaming services, if they're selling wholesale, essentially, they want that so that they get richer data sets.
Yeah, and there's no stopping the streaming service from collecting whatever data it's allowed to collect because you're going to have to log into them, right? What the question is, are they sharing any of that data? With the cable company, and does the cable company benefit from that? Possibly. There's sharing of third-party data for advertisers already. They can use those terms to say, oh, it's another third-party partner that we're sharing data with.
How much longer are we entering an era? I suppose I know the answer to. All right, I have 2 questions.
Just ask it. Yeah.
How much longer do we have? Do we actually have cables coming into houses, and how quickly is it? I mean, I guess. We have to for broadband internet for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. I was about to say that'll just die out, but the cables coming into the house are going to go to the modem for a long time. And so that the cables that go to every room in your house to power TVs, you can take those. You can take those out right now. You don't even need them because you have that go to your modem, and then even if you are a cable subscriber, you can stream channels for most of these services now.
Well, and this is the second question. Is there any standard set-top box from any cable provider that provides anything remotely resembling a Roku-like or
they all have one.
TV Plus? Okay.
They're all replacing the old cable box with a streaming box. Comcast and its Xfinity have been the kind of at the forefront of that, but it's basically a Roku that also can stream your cable TV service as well, but it can already have apps, right? Comcast may or may not get a cut of that. It may not be included in your subscription, but it can have all of the apps on them. So you're there. It's easy enough for them to say, oh, that app? Yeah, well, you don't even have to pay extra for that one. That one's part of your subscription now. And make the interface clear that like you get Hulu as part of your DirecTV subscription. DirecTV Stream could include that stuff somehow. I wonder if consumers want this as much as cable companies want them to want this. Because again, I think it's a fairly decent success rate among the people who still have cable to be like, well, the only reason I was going to get rid of cable was, to get Peacock. But if Peacock's included, then I guess I'll just keep cable.
Well, this is where we have to engage in some revisionist history, and we have to go back to when we started the show a decade and a half ago, asking the question, what if there was no cable? How do we get out of cable? It took us a while to find the words for it, but along the way, one of the things we figured out is we don't hate the possibility of having everything available in a giant Chinese buffet. What we hated were onerous contracts.
Right.
What we hated was terrible customer service. What we hated was being locked in. What we hated was having a hard time getting, extracted and. And so if we're drifting back where now there is competition, because again, incentives were aligned. If you're a monopoly, why would you bother to have good customer service, what have you? Now that there are incentives aligned to you better be better than everyone else. And I'd be curious whether or not cable's still locking people into year-long contracts.
Yeah. You can't be doing that. You're not going to win the people back by doing that.
Right.
You have to provide better customer service, and that has to be demonstrable. Like people have to, because people assume your customer service is bad right now. So you need to be able to get some stories out like, hey, I got called my cable company and they were able to help me really fast. You got to have those kinds of things go viral. You got to play that social media game. And that's hard. And finally, you can't have carriage disputes. I'm sorry, but the beauty of me subscribing directly is that while I do have to do the work of keeping track of it, Max never goes away because of a carriage dispute, right? If I'm paying Max and Max is still in business, I get Max. If, however, I've got Max bundled with my Charter Spectrum TV Select plan and that contract comes up for renewal and they have a fight, I might lose my Max subscription temporarily. Here's
another question that I suspect we both know the answer to. Do they count all of these, shall we say, hybrid subscriptions as subscriptions? Do they get double counted as cable subscriptions and as, when they do their quarterly numbers? Oh my gosh, we saw such an explosion on Disney Plus subscribers.
Yeah, no, they absolutely will. You're right, because that's a Disney Plus subscriber.
Apples to apples. It's because these are wholesale. They're not the same at all.
Yeah, they're not the same for revenue, but they are the same for viewer availability,
and
right?
Data sets and reach and, and for bragging about the viewer minutes watched, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing, were it to take off large enough, people would stop reporting subscriber numbers and start reporting viewing minutes and things like that to differentiate themselves from others. But I don't know. I think we're to keep seeing these stories. We'll keep flagging them for you of cable companies more and more saying like, we'll add the thing so that you don't leave. I think they have to break out of their regions if that's going to be a success for them. And that's not true of internet, right? Comcast operates in regions because it has to run the wires for the internet. So it doesn't want to pay to have to run the wires in every corner of the US, but it doesn't have to do that for streaming. So why not break out of that region?
Well, I'll tell you who does not need to break out of their local region is us. We broadcast to a little region called Planet Earth, and we promise never to broadcast Cordkillers to the moon if and when people start living up there, trying to figure out how to cut the cords. Guess what? Ain't no cord go from Earth to the moon. Y'all, unless you're talking about being tethered by the cords of gravity, in which case we can't help you. Sorry.
Yeah. Out past the Lagrange point, you're on your own, people.
That's right. And that's why you guys should support us at patreon.com/Cordkillers, because we stand by our values. We've never broadcast to the moon. We will never broadcast to the moon. We're going to stay right here for you. We're going to have extra bonus content behind the paywall. You're going to get early access to all of our episodes. You're going to get exclusive access to the After Talk segment, and spoiler in time where I'm continuing to eviscerate Only Murders in the Building while also saying it has a lot of heart. Boy, do I have some riled up fury for you today.
I'm excited now. Yeah. Well, folks, if you ever needed a reason to become a patron, now you got two. Protect Planet Earth and see why Brian is so conflicted about Only Murders in the Building. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. On to the search party. We almost made it, Brian. We almost made it. On Sunday, I thought I was going to be able to say nobody talked about streamers in relations to the Emmys, right? The way nobody talks about, oh, cable did this well at the Emmys. Nobody's talked about that in years. But then Engadget's Sarah Fielding, who is a fantastic reporter, published this line: the second Emmys of 2024 have come and gone, with streamers once again winning big for some of our favorite television shows.
When will they stop damning us with faint praise, Tom? It's insulting. It's real content, people.
So we're still not to the point where streaming TV is just TV in the eyes of Emmys coverage. We're almost there. Almost there. So we have to check in and see how streaming did. Disney won 60 awards. Hulu FX's Shogun got 18 of them. Wow. 14 of them were the creative arts that are given out before primetime, but they got 4 in primetime, and they were the big ones. The Bear, also a Hulu FX show, took home 11 Emmys. Jeremy Allen White won for lead actor. Eben Masbakarak and Liza Colon-Zayas won for supporting actor and actress. Max got 14. Hacks won Outstanding Comedy Series and Best Lead Actress. And Netflix scored 14. Apple TV Plus got 10.
Wait a minute. Which one is the lead actress in Hacks?
That's Our Lady.
Deborah Vance?
Deborah Vance, yes. Okay, but yes, I'm trying to remember the actor's name. No.
That's okay. She's always, she's
Deborah Vance. That's
Deborah
why.
Vance.
That's how good she was and why she deserves this Emmy, because she is, in fact, Deborah Vance. Yeah. So Deborah Vance got Best Lead Actress. Hacks won Outstanding Comedy. Hacks beat out The Bear for Outstanding Comedy, and that has kind of been the talk of like, hey man, shouldn't The Bear have won an Emmy for Best Series? And everyone's like, well, they put it in comedy. And I guess it justified it because it's 30 minutes, not an hour, but it lost to Hacks. If they'd been in drama, they could have lost to Shogun or they could have beat it. But they were up against tough stuff either way.
Well, that's interesting because you're right. That's a mushy middle problem. And it was a bold thing to, there's some amount of internal machinations on all this. People
It's a Hulu FX show with Shogun, right? So you're like, well, we don't want to put The Bear up against Shogun. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, for anybody who doesn't know, all of these awards thing, there's behind the scenes marketing campaigns where individual producers, try to reach out to people and they know who they're up against. And so they know like, didn't you find yourself laughing during The Bear? And as Eugene Levy pointed out during the Emmys, much like The Bear, we will not be making any jokes. But there is something to be said, because I did find myself laughing quite a bit during The Bear. And what it made me think of, this will be a short trip, Tom, is, my stage magic show that I toured all over the United States with. I won awards for comedy, but I never told a single joke during the show. But there's a primal need. Laughter is a way that you signal to your hunting tribe that everything is safe. So you hear a twig snap, everybody gets tense with the drama of, are we about to die at the hands of at the paws of a saber-toothed tiger? And then, a fuzzy bunny comes out and then you laugh, everybody laughs. That's the type of laughter that happens during The Bear. And I believe it's a legitimate type of laughter, just very different from the setup punchline of Hacks. Although also Hacks, part of the reason it is so funny is because we care about the dramatic tension of Deborah Vance's return. And it's that underlying tension that makes those comedic beats really, really land because you want that release.
Yeah. I don't think that makes it a comedy. Right?
I'm just
I
trying
totally
to
get what you're saying. And I'm sitting here like, can I make the same argument for Schindler's List? Because
you did laugh during that at one
because
point.
there's moments, right? But I wouldn't call Schindler's List a comedy. Yeah. I don't look at Hacks and The Bear and say, yeah, those are both comedies. On the other hand,
maybe The Bear flew too close to the sun.
Yeah. It probably would not have taken home 11 Emmys if it had been up against Shogun. So, maybe they were willing to give up that best comedy Emmy in order to get Jeremy Allen White and Eben Moss-Bacharach and Liza Colon-Zayas their Emmys. But nevertheless, that's how the Emmys break out. Maybe next year, or maybe the Oscars. Actually, the Oscars got pretty close this last year of not being like, it's just movies, just TV shows. Prime Video has
COVID really spun that one around when nobody could actually go to a movie theater.
Yeah, right. And everything was streaming. Prime Video has halted production on the final season of Good Omens. The decision comes 2 months after series creator and showrunner Neil Gaiman was accused of sexual assault. Gaiman has denied the allegations against him, and Deadline says that Gaiman has offered internally to step back from production if that helps Amazon continue producing the show.
If you were to speculate wildly, how much of this was Gaiman removing himself? How much of this was Gaiman being removed?
I don't know. I'll be honest. My gut tells me that Amazon said, let's just halt this until we know what happens. And because people are going to be upset and they will boycott this show no matter what. And I think Neil Gaiman is the kind of person who would say, I think the show would continue. It's in good hands. If me stepping back helps you continue to produce it, I will do that. I will continue to draw my points on the back end, but I will step back from being involved. I could see him doing that. And then I could see Amazon saying, that's great and all, thanks, but that's not the problem. The problem isn't people knowing you're in the writer's room. The problem is you are the co-author of the source material. And if there is a problem, that's the problem.
Well, and this is, I don't know. It's boy, it'd be neat if it was even possible for anyone to know the full truth of anything, there's
that.
But like from the outside, you could bank on the fact that a company is happy to ride the name Neil Gaiman all the way up, but not so much down.
Yeah. And think of the other side of this. If Amazon said, until there's a decision in court, we will continue to produce Good Omens, Amazon would take the heat instead. Amazon would take the heat. Good Omens would be boycotted. You would have people think less of you if you liked this season of Good Omens. So I do kind of see why Prime Video is saying, let's just not move forward in the current climate. And that's unfortunate because I want this show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I thought season 2 passed the test of like moving beyond the original source material. That was confirmed. And I enjoyed season 2 quite a bit, wanted to see season 3. But when you consider the entire budget for Good Omens and you translate it into units of Lord of the Rings seasons, like this is a little bit of dander off the shoulder of Amazon.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like an annoying fly.
That was 2 minutes of Lord of the Rings. So yeah. The MTV Video Music Awards saw a jump in viewership over last year's telecast, according to Nielsen data. The VMAs nabbed approximately 4.08 million viewers with the original telecast and 2 encore airings. interestingly, they just ran it on all the Viacom music-related networks. BET had it, VH1 had it. Like, they all aired it. The viewership was up roughly 8% compared to last year's show, pulled in 3.78 million viewers. The 2024 show represents the VMA's biggest audience in 4 years. And I thought it was worth noting that the Emmys telecast was also up. Emmys had its largest audience in 3 years. So it's odd. I think everybody thought, well, everybody just stayed at home and watched TV during lockdowns in 2020. But it seems like people didn't watch these live events because they weren't live. And now that they're fully live, people have been trickling back in.
Yeah. It is worth noting, man, have numbers changed. 4.08 million is 2 regular episodes of Golden Girls or 3 reruns in the off season on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
That's and that is a headline today that they're able to get 4. And even then there's fudging because they played it on multiple networks and they played it again and they played it again. And they were able to, come on, 2 Golden Girls.
Yeah. One of those encore airings is the West Coast feed. So back in the Golden Girls era, you would have just had one airing, but they would have been at 2 different times. You would have had a tape delayed version on the West Coast. So now they give it to you live on the West Coast if you're around, and if you're working and you get off, then you can watch the encore airing. But then the second encore airing is like, that's just for people up late, I guess, or whatever. It does show that people were able to watch it live. You know, the ding on these kinds of things, especially the Video Music Awards, was people just wanted the performances. They don't really care who wins. So they're just going to watch it on social media. They're going to watch it on Twitter, watch it on YouTube, watch it on TikTok, whatever. This implies that, and as a matter of fact, people did that. They had record social media uptake as well, but were also watching it live on some kind of service, YouTube TV or cable or whatever.
And you watched the whole thing, or just kind of had it on?
I did, yeah. No, I even watched the pre-show leading up to it.
What was 2007 like?
You mean watching the VMAs or the artists? Because the artists were very 2024.
That's what I figured. I just mean watching the VMAs. I'd be surprised if I recognize 5 of the bands the whole night long.
Megan Thee Stallion.
I know the name. Would not know a song.
She's from Houston, so local girl. Sabrina Carpenter.
Nope. Hey man,
I'm gonna guess you don't know Lisa from Blackpink, who performed a solo. Katy Perry.
Okay, all right, yep.
She got the Heritage Award.
So I'm still in 2007. I'm comfy.
Yeah, and Taylor Swift was there. She didn't perform, but you know who she is. So
all right, yeah. All right, maybe 2012.
Yeah, there we go. We're getting there. Chapel Roan, you know Chapel Roan? No?
Don't think so.
All right. Well, yeah. There you go.
Hey, Tom, did you know I'm turning 50 in 4 months?
Inside Out 2 comes to Disney Plus. I'm 54. Inside Out 2 comes to Disney Plus on September 25th. I watched LE SSERAFIM perform in the pre-show and I'm 54. Inside Out 2 comes to Disney Plus on September 25th. If you didn't get a chance to see it in the theater, or you just wanted to watch it again without having to go to the theater, it's finally coming to streaming. So it was so successful. I figured a lot of people would be interested in this.
Yeah, and Inside Out 2, if you missed our review when it came out, it didn't have to be as good as it was. And Inside Out 2 is superior to the original. It's more creative and interesting and goes into better spots with better gags. It treats the audience with more respect than the first one did. I saw a lot of marketing. They're marketing simultaneously Inside Out 2 and Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, are you going to tune in for Agatha All Along? Or
they've been advertising Agatha All Along everywhere. We've been watching a lot of baseball. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And we watched the VMAs and Agatha All Along advertisements all over the place. And it's kind of worked in restoking my interest because the advertisements are pushing the WandaVision angle. They're basically saying, hey, you liked WandaVision? Well, guess what? Agatha's still stuck in WandaVision land. Want a little more of that WandaVision flavor with that Agatha spin? Come watch the show.
Can I throw something at you?
Sure.
When I thought of WandaVision, I had an involuntary kind of a visceral ooh feeling. And I was like, why do I feel that way? And I thought, oh, because that was peak lockdown when I watched it. So in other words, you're telling me I want to tune in on purpose, walk in from the outside to watch a pandemic era story about somebody else who's still locked in, so I can remember all the feelings of having been locked in.
That's interesting. Oh yeah, I didn't have that association at all, but I bet you're not the only one who has that. Yeah. That could explain an otherwise inexplicable drop in interest in Agatha All Along for sure. So let's move on to the buried treasure then.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Brian, I've been watching a lot of baseball over the weekend. Yeah. It takes us sometimes 2 days to get through a regular television show, you know, because we keep getting distracted mostly by the puppy. But baseball, you can just have on, and if you have to race outside or clean up some pee, you don't mind that you missed a couple of plot points. Here's an interesting thing that happened the other day. My wife's a Dodgers fan. I follow the Dodgers. I'm a Cardinals fan, but I follow the Dodgers because I live in Los Angeles. My wife's a lifelong Dodgers fan. Friday night, she says, "Where's the Dodger game?" She's on our DirecTV stream, and we have DirecTV stream specifically for Spectrum, Sportsnet LA, which carries the Dodgers. But you know, they have ESPN and stuff on there now that they've solved their carriage agreement. And she's flipping around like, I don't see the Dodger game. Where's the Dodger game? And I'm like, oh, it's Friday. It's on Apple TV Plus. And she's like, how do I get to that? And I was like, you know what? We have it tracked. Dodgers is one of our favorite teams. We have it tracked. Just go back to the home screen. It should show up. And it did. And she clicked on it and it opened in Apple TV Plus. But it was that weird moment where we haven't been able to fully trust the operating system to tell us where our favorite shows are. And so she was going with what she knew, which is, well, baseball games are usually in the DirecTV Stream app. And because things are bifurcated, that didn't work, because on Fridays, some games are on Apple TV Plus, and the Dodgers happen to be one that game.
Boy, this is all going to get real easy in what, a year, 2 years until we just talk.
I think it might be a few more, but yeah, no more than 5, right? Yeah.
Like you'll just ask Siri or whatever device, you know, hey, where's the thing? And just automatically
play the Dodgers game. And it'll be like, oh, yeah. Would you like to subscribe to Apple TV Plus if you don't have it? Yeah. Absolutely. What did you watch this week,
dude? So have you seen Rebel Ridge on Netflix?
No. Which one's Rebel Ridge? I'm forgetting about it.
So it's got it was known for they replaced the lead actor. It was supposed to be someone, they walked away. But they got somebody who I'm unfamiliar with.
Don Johnson.
John Boyega. That's who it was.
Unfamiliar with John Boyega.
No. John Boyega.
Oh, they replaced John Boyega. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But strong First Blood vibes. If you ever saw, when you think of John Rambo from the 80s, you tend to think of the over-the-top action ones. That was not how it began. It began as like a survivalist vet, you know, dealing with corrupt small-town cops. And that's this opening scene. Now imagine how good First Blood is. Now imagine you're Brian Brushwood, a hardcore possible anarcho-capitalist libertarian. And the very first scene is this badass buff dude on a bicycle taking up the whole lane, which a cyclist is entitled to do because it's a vehicle conveyance and he's obeying the law. And then a car comes up behind him trying to get around him. This is in the first 30 seconds, Tom. It tries to go right, tries to go left, then turns on its cop car lights and pops him in the back, flips him over. Guy pulls a piece on him, says, get down, spread him. And then they They go rifling through his bag. Well, despite the fact that he knows all of his rights, they discover a bunch of cash, which he's totally legal to have, but because he's trying to post bail for his cousin, and then they seize it. Civil asset forfeiture. It's a whole movie about civil asset forfeiture and how it incentivizes corrupt cops, and the cops are the bad guys in this small town. And the main guy is Don Johnson. What was Don Johnson's name in Miami Vice?
Sonny Crockett.
That's right. When he was undercover, he went by
that I'm blanking on. Burnett. Oh, that's right. Good.
Okay, so Don Johnson plays a cop who's bad, whose name is Sandy Bernay.
No.
Yes.
You're joking.
Yes. And
Chief Sandy Bernay. Oh my God.
Here's the last part, and I give it a high recommendation. I mean, it's a bit of a grind at times. It takes its time, but it does all those little. It doesn't fall into any of the Hollywood tropes like when a sprinkler system goes off, it goes off the way it would, which is actually breaking the heat, breaks the plug, and then it starts going. And then likewise, you see a car pull up, you're like, what is that on the back? And it's all covered in duct tape, and it's on you to figure out, oh, yeah, if you want to be sneaky at night, you're probably going to put duct tape over the taillights. A bunch of these little details. But the last other thing that's a lot of fun is the main character never shoots anyone with a weapon. He never kills anyone. He just is awesome at everything and just disarms people totally weaponless. And mainly he's just grabbing other people's guns and taking the ammo out and throwing the guns away and breaking legs.
How A-Team like. That's amazing.
It's great. It's great. I liked it a lot.
Rebel Ridge on Netflix.
95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, which I find more trustworthy these days.
Yeah. You know what? Trust the Brian scale. That's great.
The one I really trust. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. So, Brian, you teased this at the top of the show. Why are all the monies in the world in your daughter's heart? Did I remember that right?
No, they were in my heart and soul. Okay. But now they belong to my daughters. And I don't just mean that my daughter's college is expensive, which it is. I mean my youngest, my 11-year-old, created something called Callie's Cards, existential crisis cards, about big, scary thoughts as seen when she was 9 years old. She created this, and now she recorded a promo. And as of today, this morning, I woke up and I'm like, oh, I wonder if we're going to cross and get funded. 2 hours later, oh, we got funded. And then 2 hours after that, Tom, I got an email from an actual human that says, hey, we picked your project as a project we love. Sincerely yours, Kickstarter. So head on over to Callie's Cards. That's CALLIESCARD.com. Just watch the video because here's what I found out, Tom, is part of the way they pick projects we love is based on how engaged people are just right off the street watching the video. Like if people hit play and they get sucked into the video to the end, then they know this is a pretty good video. And I will vouch for the fact that Callie is very funny.
Oh, it's really good. Video. Yeah, I will double vouch. I will vouch on your vouch because she's great in that video. That was amazing.
CalliesCards.com. Thank you to everybody who's backed it. And if you're on the fence, then just think of your least favorite dollar bill and get rid of it. It's haunted, and become a backer so that the backer number goes up.
Fantastic. Go check it out, folks. And we will scan the horizon.
Send a scanning crew aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
Well, we've got a new iPhone coming at the end of the week. We have a new iPhone operating system that launched today, Monday. So Netflix has announced it will no longer update its apps on iOS 16. iOS 16 came out 2 years ago. Netflix has been alerting users to update to iOS 17 or today to 18 to keep the app working. This leaves out older iPhones that can't update to iOS 17. So if you're using the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus, the iPhone 10, you will not be able to continue to update your Netflix app. It might keep working for a while, but eventually it probably will stop. Those phones are really old, Brian. If you're still using one of those phones, you're pretty close to out of support from Apple anyway, and probably aren't watching a lot of Netflix on it because it's underpowered. But
even then, I suspect you still might be able to get away with watching it in a browser, even hypothetically.
Possibly. StatCounter estimates about 6.19% of iOS users are still on iOS 16. And with this, that's probably going to dwindle. But that's probably a bigger percentage than I would have guessed, especially because Apple provides its iOS updates for free and continues to support them and puts them out immediately. You don't have to wait around for them. So there's really not a reason not to update.
I would suspect, if I'm trying to read tea leaves here, because you're right, giving up on 6.5% of your install base is a bigger number than that's an eyebrow raiser, but it may be a leading indicator that they're committed to next generation features, including gaming stuff and so on, because you got to give something up when you do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is an outcry. They could launch a separate app called like Classic Netflix or something. I
don't know. It's only a slice of Netflix viewing that happens on the iPhone. Mm-hmm. And it's only 6.19% of all iOS users who are on iOS 16. Not all of them are Netflix subscribers. Netflix may look at that and go, like, that's just not enough viewing being done to matter. Like, the people on those older iPhones may be less likely to use the Netflix app to watch their Netflix. They may be watching it on other devices anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of hand-me-down, I mean, even Gen 1 iPads that are still capable of playing video. It would be weird for a 5-year-old to not be able to watch Netflix on there.
Yeah, I suppose so. But like you said, you do have the browser option as well.
Yeah.
Venue is the service that would provide sports from ESPN Plus, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Fox in one streaming service. And Fubo TV is suing it in court for anti-competitive practices. Fubo claims that these three companies have not negotiated in good faith to give Fubo streaming sports at a competitive rate in order to prefer their own forthcoming service, Venue. Venue is not allowed to launch at this point. There's a preliminary injunction that says they can't launch Venue until the trial is over. The trial just got scheduled, Brian. They'll have to hold on to launching Venue until after the trial starts in October 2025.
Oh, dear. So
guess what? The Venue companies, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fox, wanted it to be scheduled for February 2026.
Yep, that sounds like the way the legal system works to me, Tom.
No, did you catch that? The operators of Venue wanted it to be even farther into the future.
Well, again, what I meant with my comment was the abuse of the legal system as a cudgel for businesses to trade blows back and forth on, because whatever their reason is, whether it's they wanted to increase the amount of damages, maybe they're not serious, maybe this is all a feint that they're doing so that they can do some actual negotiation with the threat of the hammer of law over them or what have you.
I mean, Fubo went to court to stop them from launching Venue now. And now the Venue companies are like, yeah, we don't want to launch it until 2026.
Well, this is what I'm saying, Tom, is that's what they're saying they want. What they're saying they want and what they actually want don't necessarily have to be the same thing. What they actually probably want is a seat at the table to be part of the cartel. How do you do that? You do it by, number one, having a credible threat, legal threat.
Well, no, Venue is the cartel.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
Disney, Warner Brothers, and Fox said, October 2025 seems too soon. I know we're not allowed to launch our product until after this trial is over. We'd like it to happen in February 2026, please. And the judge said, no, that's too long. October 2025.
Actually, that also makes sense. I mean, either way, it makes sense because, number one, we know that all these companies are comfortable with glacial timelines, as we've illustrated on this very program. I don't know, like, I guess
that's the only gambit I could come up with is that ESPN, Disney, Warner, and Fox believe that Fubo is in bad shape, that Fubo wants a better deal, and that maybe they can come to an agreement with Fubo to dismiss this case. But the longer it takes, the more pressure on Fubo to do that.
Yeah, if they, it could be that they're just playing to starve them for oxygen, which again goes back to, I don't believe anybody. I don't believe anybody in this lawsuit. I don't believe either party is using the lawsuit in good faith or actually doing it for what they say they want. They all have ulterior motives.
At a conference, NBC's John Miller said, "To me, it would be fool's gold to invest in something like this when you can get all of that stuff by going through your cable subscription or buying a YouTube TV subscription. So no, we weren't invited to join Venue, but we're happy with the hand that we have right now. We're continually looking to grow, make partnerships, and be in business with people who seek the value in what we bring to the table." Paramount, the other major sports television provider who was not invited to Venue, Paramount's George Cheeks said, "We weren't hurt by not being invited. I think that's because we're really focused on a multi-genre offering. When we look at the stats of Paramount Plus, we look at subscribers who come in for sports. 90% of their time is spent on the services with non-sports content."
Yeah. Sounds. I don't believe any of them, Tom. they're all just saying the things and doing the dance.
I definitely believe John Miller is saying it would be fool's gold to invest in something like this until you give us a better deal. Except he didn't say the "until you give us a better deal." I definitely don't believe George Cheeks when he says we weren't hurt by not being invited.
We have no interest in streaming Game of Thrones. Did you know that Game of Thrones is the most pirated show? Guess what we're doing? Streaming Game of Thrones.
Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said that Max will add more than 6 million subscribers this current quarter after 3.6 million net additions for the 3 months that ended in June. So looks like Max is on a good subscription adding pace.
Man, I can't believe how right Max has been. It's amazing.
Yeah. And finally, Lachlan Murdoch. What was his name in Succession? Wait, no, that wasn't based on them. Or was it? Lachlan Murdoch said he likes the Fox business and will keep investing in it, but also indicated they're looking to acquire companies. Now, the way this is explained in the Deadline article is usually when someone asks a company, "Are you looking to buy companies?" they say, no, we're just investing in the business we have because we're responsible business owners, whether they're looking to invest in other companies or not. Lachlan said, "Oh, no, we're going to keep investing in the company, but also, yeah, we'd like to buy entertainment services." So they're going to exercise their option to buy 18% of FanDuel already, and they're not looking to buy a streamer. We still don't see a Fox-only streamer like Peacock or anything like that, but it does look like they're trying to buy other smaller pieces of entertainment online technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't tell if that's just a genius gambit or Lachlan Murdoch didn't care.
Well,
but either way.
I'm resisting the urge to just want to talk about the emergence of legitimized sports gambling, which we don't have time
with the FanDuel thing too. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the chatter. Chatter. Hey, chatter.
You've got mail.
Kev writes to cordkillers@gmail.com. Hey, killers! A couple of episodes ago, a fan wrote in about Warner Brothers catalog. There's a 4-episode docuseries on Max called 100 Years of Warner Brothers that's a good watch. Lots of clips from their catalog in the eps. I'll also recommend Stanley Tucci's Searching for Italy, also on Max. He basically eats his way across Italy, and I'm always hungry after watching an episode. So much pasta. Not sure how many eps that series is. The wife and I just finished episode 4 last night. Keep up the killing, Kev.
Right on. Man, I wonder how many clips they got, because that miniseries or that docuseries has to be just a dopamine rush of nostalgia.
Yeah, they just opened the archives and were like, clip away, everybody.
Remember this? Remember that? It's like, yeah. I love the 80s or whatever.
I kind of want to watch it now that we're talking about it. And then Sean wrote in and said, time is money, friends. I heard about this initiative years ago targeting cable companies keeping people on hold for hours when trying to cancel. The other one was gyms, where you could only quit on the first Thursday of the month, and you had to speak to the manager who just happened to be on vacation that day. This is the main reason I never signed up for a gym.
It is agonizing, man. If time is money. It's the most valuable currency that any of us have. And I'm this week alone 2 hours into dealing with Spectrum, who I spent the first hour insisting that there was definitely nothing on their end. So at the end of an hour, they're like, okay, we'll send out a tech. And then the day of the tech was supposed to be out there, all like, we found something on our end. Then we fixed it. Could you maybe cancel that tech? And I ran the test. And of course, it didn't fix it. And then the tech came out. He's like, but when he heard about the problem, he didn't even come inside the house. He went straight up to the pole. He's like, yeah, there's no point. It's totally on our end. But it's agonizing. Like what I would charge for 2 hours of undivided attention, and they're just taking it from me. Yeah, this is old man rants. I get to make old man rants now.
How old are you?
Not yet 50.
Yeah. No, you still got to wait. Still got to wait. Get that AARP card in your hand. We'll talk.
Like a proper youngin'.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live at twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.